Welcome back to another episode of Untangled, where we unravel the wisdom that seems so hidden at times in life's tangled moments. I'm Carollee. I'm your host of the podcast today. And today we're going to go deep into the understanding of how magnetic energy is formed by having boundaries. Understanding about setting boundaries and how it is essential to create confidence, create the life that you fall absolutely in love with, create that energy when you're in your own frame. And setting boundaries is key to manifesting in life. And it can trickle down in so many different areas financially, career, entrepreneurship, relationships, friendships. It has effect in every area of your life. And let's dive deep in today into the understanding of setting boundaries. There is absolutely a way to do this without feeling guilty, but if you are feeling guilty, there could be a few reasons why, and we'll kind of discuss those a bit today too. I'm super excited to be bringing this to you today because this is life changing, and I'm going to go over my story of setting boundaries and how I attribute this to my success, really loving my life, sharing that with you and helping you understand that it's okay to say no. It's okay to put yourself first and really get to a place of understanding that these feelings that you go through of wanting to put others before yourself, um, they probably come from somewhere. And when you heal that and are able to stand in your own frame, you will be you'll have this worthiness that you know is yours. You will understand that your frame is just as important as somebody else's. Let's dive deep today, discuss how boundaries really affect your magnetic energy. So many of us, when we go through our spiritual awakening, we often become extremely intuitive to other people's energies. Often so very intuitive that we tune into theirs, but we're not in tune with our own. Theirs comes before ours, and there's so many layers to it. But when you're putting others before yourself, it's it shows. It's an energy that's put off, and people will begin taking advantage of you. It can be repelling. People don't treat you as well. And you're really just not prioritizing yourself. It can be a hard pill to swallow when you realize. I know I had a situation where I was in a relationship after my 20-year marriage. And when I left that marriage, I went directly to therapy. And I was like, I promised myself, I'm never going to be in that situation again. And I was like, with the therapist, just tell me what I need to do to never be in that situation again. So, this is where you need to understand that we all have layers. So, I was working on myself. I was working on myself deeply. I was with a gentleman for 4 years and found myself in a very not as extreme of a situation, but a situation where I was not able to talk to this person and be met with love and kindness. Um, he lacked the ability to be able to communicate on a level of, although he has his perspective, like not getting angry with me because I had a different perspective. And I understand it. We're not all taught this. And if you're not working on yourself, how can you get to that point? I found myself after 4 years one day going, "Fuck, Carol, is this how much you love yourself or hate yourself? Because you're in a similar situation." And I got myself out of that situation as soon as I realized it and was capable of getting out. So you have to be a little understanding with yourself that you're we're complex beings and we are where we are. But that is why I'm here to talk to you, because sometimes we don't understand where we are and you unravel like an onion in layers. And the past few months for me, I have unraveled more layers that I didn't even realize were there. And it's more of an understanding. Let me explain that I I still, with my relationships, was coming from a place of putting others before myself and not prioritizing myself. And I was taking this course. It was actually a conscious business course, but one of the very first things that they did was belief work and what beliefs you had. And I want to tell you, I've been doing belief work for over 6 years, but this course unraveled some new layers that I didn't know were there. And I also did somatic breath work and at the same time was doing dominant vibration meditations. And it has just put me on a whole nother level where I call it my I don't give a fuck, but I still care. Um, it is a deep understanding that my frame is the most important to me. It is absolutely essential above anybody else. And it's not about being selfish, it's about not compromising yourself for someone else. And I have to tell you, when you are compromising yourself for someone else, it's it's not real. You're not being true to yourself. So I've literally felt like I've woke up in another reality. Like it's a whole new world. Sorry, I know I can't sing, but maybe I should switch that paradigm and I can sing. But so before this, I was really almost almost needy. Like if I didn't do what they want, I'd be like, "Oh my god, what if they get mad at me? What if how are they going to feel? What if they hate me?" And it was almost like a panic feeling on the inside of, so they were so much more important than how I was feeling. Be kind to yourself when you're going through this. It takes time and it takes practice because you're going to be feeling tension in your life and it will be new. But this is what life is about. It's about feeling that fear, feeling the discomfort, but going out of your comfort zone anyway. And I promise you, if you take these steps, you are going to be in a whole new world. When you first start doing this, it could possibly have, like, people could possibly be removed from your life. But understanding that if they're removed because you're setting some boundaries, it's it's conditional. They're placing a condition on their love for you, that they're more important than you are. And I'm not saying that compromise doesn't happen in relationships. It absolutely does. But when you have a boundary, when this is a no for you, and I'm not saying that compromise doesn't happen in relationships, it absolutely does. But when you have a boundary, when this is a no for you, It's important to listen to that and prioritize yourself and stand in your frame. If you lose relationships because of that, I I just would like you to challenge the thought of how much this person cared about you. And I know that that is really hard when you're deep into this this belief that you need to take care of other people. Be kind to yourself during that, but also challenge yourself and take action anyway. So, what is our own frame? Well, when you're in your own frame, you're protecting that frame. You have momentum, you have direction, you have purpose, and you understand yourself. I was talking to a friend recently who was telling me they had someone in their life that was difficult to be around, one of those energy suckers. But like whenever they were around them, like by the end of the day that they were with them, they felt like they had no energy. And this person had a really strong masculine frame, was very narcissistic and selfish, and was using this person. And this person started doing shadow work and meditating and going into their dominant vibration. And they were really working on their masculine and feminine energy and just really doing the deep work that needs to be done. And they were really starting to stand in their own frame, and they recognized this relationship was dysfunctional, how they would kind of duck out for a bit, but then this person would come back in their life. So once they began standing in their own frame while they're doing this work, they took their energy back, and they understood, while this person who was showing up in a strong frame, they would get lost when they showed up. But after understanding this and doing the shadow work, they saw the dynamic that they kept getting stuck in, and they can't reel you back in then when you're aware of it, when you're doing the work and you're standing in your frame and you understand where your energy is at, they can't suck you back in. But that's where my friend had, like, was super excited. It was like a revelation, an understand, like a whole new world opens up to you. And it's exciting when you're able to be like, no, like, no, this isn't working for me, and understand that you're more important than somebody. Your life is that important. Your worthiness, your value, how you feel is important. If someone's sucking up your energy, that's something that is absolutely okay to take care of, but often we don't even know that it's happening. But that's why we're having this podcast today. Once you get to this point, these people can't reel you back in. This person had a belief that if they told someone no or expressed how they feel, they would hurt their feelings. And the person might think they're an asshole or a bitch. But because you're not giving somebody else what they need. But what you need to understand is if they get mad at you, that's their shit. You become a drug to them by giving them what they need. If you're afraid, I want you to think about this. If they love you, if they really love you because of something you give them, that's enabling, and it's conditional love. You are something this person is addicted to, and it's not real. If you're afraid and feel guilty if you say no, it's just not love. It's conditional. It's sacrificing your needs to give something to someone else. And it's not true love. It's enabling, it's feeding into their paradigm in exchange. So you don't feel guilty. Do you see the difference there? It if you're able to express your needs to someone, and even if it's difficult to have a discussion with them, but they're able to hear you and be kind to you and understand. I mean, it's all about not sacrificing your needs to give something to somebody else just so they don't call you an asshole. There are certain patterns that I've attracted in my life over the years that I've learned to navigate, and doing it as sort of a mind trick. Um, as many of you know, I had a schizophrenic mom growing up and a bipolar sister, and I kept attracting people who in my life who just want to suck my energy. Very narcissistic people, selfish people. They tend to have a really strong frame that sucks energy from other people. Um, they use people for validation. And when you are playing into that role, you're enabling that person. So I was attracting very narcissistic people who would use you. They're usually a very strong frame that take from other people's energies, very narcissistic behavior. Um, they basically get their energy from you, and they're usually doing it subconsciously. It's not even something that they realize that they're doing. And anytime you're playing towards somebody else's feelings, it's because they get a sense of worthiness, and you are validating that with them. It's a exchange, it's a transaction, and it's not real. Now I understand that was me compromising myself for someone else not to be mad at me. It's not real. Do you hear me? Do you understand what I'm saying? It's not real. It's fake as fuck. And it's not love. It's not love. I used to not be able to say no. I was so concerned about helping others and not hurting other people's feelings. And now I understand that when I compromise myself for someone else not to be mad at me, it's not real. Do you hear me? Do you understand that it is not real. It's fake as fuck. It's not love. It is not love. Now I'm able to understand that. I'm much more assertive than I used to be. One thing that I've really done with shadow work and still continue to do with meditation, somatic breathing, reading, is um, understanding my needs, which they were so far put down because of my childhood and being raised with a very narcissistic mental mental health problems household. But now that I'm raising my vibration, I know my worthiness, and I'm not willing to compromise myself for others. So this is my little mind trick that I use when it comes up and I start to feel that I'm putting somebody else's needs before myself. Is the very first thing I do is I I go to best friend mode. And what I call that is I am my best friend in this moment. What would I say to my best friend if she told me, or he, whatever, that someone was behaving in a narcissistic manner and sucking up their energy? What would I say to her? So that's number one. This is my little Jedi mind trick. I hope it works for you. Number two, I align myself in my frame, which being my best friend helps me do that because I take a step back from what Carol would normally do. And Carol is her best friend taking care of her, aligning my frame. And I tell myself, I am worthy and I am complete. And I am going to put myself, I'm not going to compromise myself for someone else. Then I take a deep breath. There is something very healing about breath. And if you need to step away and meditate and take some deep breaths, that's okay. Whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. After I do those few steps, I'm aligned in my frame. I'm my best friend. I'm taking care of myself. I understand my worthiness and my value, and that if someone thinks I'm a bitch, if someone thinks I'm an asshole, that's their shit. It's not my shit. And I'm not going to compromise myself so someone doesn't hate me. So remember doing the shadow work, standing in your own frame and your value, and just know you're fucking worth it. Your worth is not to be compromised. No one deserves something over you. No one. And we can't rely on anyone else to do something for us. If we wish they would, it's not going to happen. It just, we are the only ones that are going to take care of ourselves, and really understanding that and embracing it and doing the work. It's it's worth every second, and you fucking matter, and I fucking love you. Okay, loves, I want you to hit me up and tell me how you're standing in your own frame and your magnetic energy in a boundary that you've set recently. You can go ahead and like hit me up on Instagram at Coach Carollee. My YouTube is at Coach Carollee, or you can even email me. I'd love to chat with you. Info at CoachCarollee.com. Check out my YouTube channel because I have great information on there too. And look, this shit takes time. Like I told you, I'm still unraveling in layers. There's still more work to be done, and we're going to be doing this work until we're no longer here anymore. And really understanding that, being conscious of that, being kind and compassionate to yourself, facing the fear, understanding that you're going to feel afraid at times, but taking action anyway is very important. But I love you guys.